Lost River was released in 2014 and circulated the festival circuits for a bit, I believe. This was directed by Ryan Gosling and is Ryan Gosling's first written and directed film. And the first time that I watched it, from what I remember it being absolutely bonkers and not getting it whatsoever. I believe, remember watching it twice because I think the very next day I watched it again, or like really soon after, because like I really had to. This is one that I had to revisit, and then I just kind of forgot about it after that, and I recently discovered it again, and I was totally reminded of it because I had totally slipped my mind, and I found it and I bought it, and because I really wanted to rewatch it because I like Ryan Gosling as an actor, and I really like the director Nicholas Winding Refn, who has directed The Neon Demon, Drive with Ryan Gosling, and Only God Forgives, also with Ryan Gosling. And I remember this film being very Nicholas Winding Refn kind of like the vibes were kind of there. And it really needed a revisit. So I watched it for the, well, third time, I guess. I've lost, well, I don't know how many times I've watched this film, but this is the first time in a very long time, since 2014, I would say. And this film is crazy and weird, and I love weird films. I love Nicholas Winding Refn's films for that reason, especially with Only God Forgives and The Neon Demon. I think Only God Forgives is the most bizarre of his, and probably the one that fits this kind of vibe the most. But you can definitely tell that this is a passion project from Ryan Gosling, that he was very much influenced by Refn's style. It's written all over it, so it's very, very, very obvious. But the basic storyline from the start of this film is you get this kind of poverty-stricken, I wouldn't say post-apocalyptic, but there's definitely those kind of vibes to it too. And like this lower to middle class like area of people. There's this guy. He has a little kid with him, and you realize that he has a mother played by Christina Hendricks. She goes by the name of Billy, and this guy who's raising this little kid, it ends up being Billy's two kids. So this guy, I'd say he looks like he's in his early 20s or something like that. And then he has this little brother, I guess, who looks like maybe 4 years old tops. But they're living in this like totally run down, not ghetto, but neighborhood that's falling apart basically. And this kid, he goes by the name of Bones. He basically he robs for scraps. He strips down like old neighborhoods that are falling apart for like copper and stuff like that to sell. And his mother, she goes to the bank. There's a scene at the beginning where she goes to the bank. Her sketchy ass banker is named Dave, and he's played by Ben Mendelsohn, who really makes a great performance. I recognized him by face. I had to look up his name, but I've seen him in other things. He's a really sketchy banker who basically gives her the option to pay in 3 months, or she's gonna have her house taken from her. But it turns out that these houses are actually not just being like repossessed, but they're actually being torn down completely, and this whole town and area is just being demolished. And there's been towns that have actually legitimately been flooded by what they call this lost river. It's just this horrible situation going on. But yeah, Billy is doing her best to uh, you know keep the house and everything, and the banker Dave offers her this opportunity at a job, which she'll take anything at this point, and she thinks it's going to be some kind of like escort, prostitution, strip club kind of scenario, which it is on the surface, but it goes way, way deeper than that. She ends up at this like dance club where people show up, and it's like this Mulholland Drive, very bizarre act going on stage. It's like this. That's where it gets kind of like post-apocalyptic vibes. Is in this club, and it's really bizarre, basically. And this kid Bones, while he's looking for his scraps and everything, there's a town that's run by this guy that they call the Bully, and this guy, he basically drives around in a truck, and he has this microphone, and he's yelling all these like speeches kind of thing, like I run this motherfucking town and all that, and he has these like gangs with him, and he like everybody warns Bones that this guy is serious business, and he fests out everybody kind of thing. Like he owns the place, he owns these rundown streets, and nobody, he like there's this one guy mentioned that had his lips cut off because whatever, and like this guy's basically crazy, and he is he looks like somebody right out of like Escape from New York, with what's his face. Blanking anyway. Escape from New York, directed by John Carpenter. Kurt Russell, there you go. He's dressed in this like shiny ass diamond coat, and just looks like really really bizarre. Basically, that's like the that's the part of the films that kind of makes sense. So the film builds from there, and that's where it goes bonkers. Like weird shit starts happening. You get this plot line where there was a spell cast on the town once it was drowned by the river. There's this girl introduced. Her name, she goes by the name of Rat because she has a pet rat, and she is taking care of her grandmother, and her grandmother is basically a mute, and she used to live in this town once it was like back when it was flourishing, and since it was drowned, she apparently lost her voice, and this girl's raising her, and she's talking about this this projection that she has up in her attic, that talks about what the town used to be or whatnot. And this town is like it's actually drowned by a river. You see the street lights coming out of the river, and like you can tell it used to be something, but it's completely vanished kind of thing. It's really spooky, and it actually talks about this like curse, or you could say, put on the town and whatnot. It's a very it's the music and the, if you know Refn, you know what you're getting into. Like if you like Nicholas Winding Refn, like I highly recommend this film. The music and the score is absolutely fantastic. The mood that this film creates, it's filled with neon. The cinematography is absolutely beautiful. Ryan Gosling really knew what he was doing to take inspiration from Refn, because he does a phenomenal job in this film. But basically, that's the basic storyline. There's a lot of... There's some intense moments. There is a scene where a rat gets decapitated. So if anybody is squeamish, there's that. But this is a spoiler review, so I'm going to be basically talking about a lot of things. And that whole scene in particular is a total reference to like taking virginity, because the way the guy's speaking, like first time touching your rat, yada yada yada, stabbing the rat, yada yada yada, you know, the whole situation is just really fucked up. I love Eva Mendes' character too, as Cat, which people are given weird names in this film, Cat and Rat and whatever else. And I don't really consider this like post-apocalyptic plot. I know I've mentioned that already, but I wouldn't, that's the wrong way to describe this film. I would describe this film more like Neon, and for anybody who's seen Only God Forgives, directed by Nicholas Winding Refn, it has that kind of very out there and non-linear, non-constructed really, story, especially after the first act. The first act is kind of structured where, you have this woman losing her house, and her banker is a sketch job who, offers her a position in this really sketchy dance club, you could call it. But there goes my screen. Apologies. But then it starts to go absolutely bonkers. I love Rat because she's played by, and I have a hard time pronouncing her name, Saoirse Ronan. I'm going to go with Saoirse Ronan. Apologies. Saoirse. Take your best shot on pronouncing that. She's Lady Bird. She plays in Lady Bird. That came out in 2017. Pretty good film. Um, and and then you got Christina Hendricks, like I said, and a bunch of other people. You actually get Barbara Steele playing the grandmother, who Barbara Steele is a classic, like, gothic. Fuck. When was she popular? The 50s, I think? She did all these, like gothic, like black and white films kind of thing. So it was cool seeing her in here as like a little cameo kind of thing. And I like how the towns actually looked like lost and drowned kind of thing, especially with like the lights coming out of the water. I think that was pretty cool. And as Rat describes the town, it's like a sense of drowning because she keeps talking about this spell. Excuse me, this spell that was put on the town once it was drowned, and all that, and that's why like everything is so kind of losing the word right now, but like mystic, I guess, which makes sense, and that's kind of how the film is portrayed. There's a scene where Rat decides to go out with Bones and on a date kind of thing because she's like, dress up nice because we're going out tonight, and they go out on the town, and everything feels povertish. Everything feels like low income, like to the max, and they're talking about like they're just having a casual conversation, asking each other why they don't leave, and their answers are basically they feel stuck. You know, that's all they know. Bones, you know, and his mother, Billy, are trying to take care of each other, and they really have nowhere else to go without each other, kind of thing. And there's even the scene where Rat just comes up to Bones and she asks him like, "Can I watch your TV?" And she just asks him to come over just to watch this like really shitty box TV that's playing like these old movies with these like this like not black and white but like 1950s foreign looking movies where these like fake looking dragons just disappear, and they're like laughing and kind of flirting just watching this as if it's like they have nothing else, like this, like they've been abandoned kind of thing, and this whole town has been abandoned and almost into like a parallel universe ghost world. It's cool. It's really the atmosphere that they build in this film. Anyways, sidetracking, back on this night out, they end up at this corner store, and this guy that I was talking about, the bully who runs this town, he has one of his members, whatever you want to call it, his gang members. His name is Face, and this Face is basically missing his mouth. So I think this guy, the bully, generally likes to cut lips off people if they fuck up or betray him or whatnot. And this guy is shopping at this corner store, and when they go inside, Rat and Bones have to hide from this guy and Face, because otherwise they're gonna mess him up. So when Rat goes outside, the bully is sitting on his car, which like is this like souped up vehicle that looks like something out of Escape from New York, like I said, and he starts messing with her and talking with her in a vibe that really like gives you the anxiety and gets your anxiety rolling. And he asks her if she needs a ride, and she's like, "No, I'm good. I'm just waiting." And he's like, "Oh, that's fine. I'm gonna go in and take a piss anyway." And that's where she's like, "Oh no, it's okay. Actually, I'll take that ride. Actually, I'll take you up on that offer. It's dark," because she wants to protect her friend, Bones, who's inside the store. Who, if the bully was to catch him, would kill him literally. So he ends up giving her the ride, and they're going through town, and there's, you know, the great camera shots that Gosling obviously was inspired from Refn in the film, like with the lights and the music, especially the score is incredible. I like the the walking shots, I would call them, where you see a person walking and the camera's like following them and the person's mid screen. They have a lot of that. They obviously have a lot of tilt shots in the film too. I think that's cool too. And yeah, Bully's giving Rat a ride, and when they get to Rat's house, that's where the whole rat situation happens. Where like, oh, can I touch your rat? Can I feel it? Oh, it's so soft. You know, is this your first time somebody's ever touched your rat? And you know, I wonder what that's a metaphor for. It's totally not a metaphor for pussy or anything, not whatsoever, or you know, rape or taking virginities without somebody's consent or nothing like that. Nothing like that. It's a fucked up scene and it's a fucked up film. It's a really fucked up film. And then you got this club and you get the third act, and the third act is weird because not a lot of things are explained. It's not a convoluted film because that's a bad way to explain it. It's oh my gosh, it's left for your interpretation, whatever word that is. You know, take the film as you will, kind of thing. Anyways, Bones discovers how he's going to break the spell, which basically involves, diving into the bottom of the river and cutting something or something like that. The character Face, who had his lips cut off, he goes to the grandmother's house and lights that on fire. And then at this dance club where all these people, like Eva Mendes works at, and the mom, Christina Hendricks' character, Billy, has a job at, where she is trying to seduce Dave, the banker, the sketchy banker, for money and doing anything she can. There's this room at the back of the club where nobody really talks about it. It's hinted throughout the film, and you're like, what the fuck is this room? This room at the back of the club that nobody talks about. And Eva Mendes' character Kat is always like, this is the room where you can make the most money. You can definitely pay your rent and whatnot. And you're like, this is gonna go somewhere really sketchy. And yeah, there's this. Billy. Her job is to be basically in a shell. They call it a shell in the movie, and it's a body shell. So she's inside this shell, and I don't know how she can breathe in there. Somehow she can, but it's really hard to. But it's just a full body like shell to her feet, and it's in this empty neon room, right? Kind of, and Dave goes up to her, and then it turns into this. He does this dance, and unless you've seen like an abstract film, that's the word I was looking for when I was saying take it into your interpretation. An abstract film. Unless you've seen an abstract film, and unless you've seen a Nicholas Winding Refn film, you won't exactly know what I'm talking about unless you've seen it. The way this guy dances to this electronic neo goth wave song, and he's just doing these ridiculous dances and like shaking his ass to this woman, Billy, who's in this shell, just staring at him and can't move and barely can breathe. And then he goes up to her and he's like, I know you want this dick. And he has this remote that can unlock and lock the shell, and he keeps just unlocking and locking it and unlocking and locking it and unlocking. And he's just fucking with her like that. The guy, that, like I said, I know his face, Ben Mendelsohn, and I've seen him in other films. His performance, although it's creepy as shit, is so damn good. It's just amazing. How creepy he can get. It's a treat to watch. For the laughs and for the jaw dropping moments, kind of thing. But then yeah, the spell is lifted somehow because Bones dives down into the water and cuts a crocodile / dinosaur head, and then that's how the spell is lifted. He ends up killing the bully too by throwing this giant like metal thing through his car, and I wouldn't say the ending is rushed, but it's definitely left for your own interpretation because you have a bunch of things happening and they're not fully explained. There's also another character too that I forgot to mention. There's the driver that drives Billy to this club for her job every night, basically whenever she has to work. He's not named, but he's this Asian guy, and he's always talking about like better life in America and why he came to America for a better life. And he says like, "Oh, everybody always told me that like I'd have a big house with a big swimming pool and the money would just be falling and I'd be picking it up off the floor. But then you get here and it's just totally different. It's just a totally different experience." And then he says, "Everybody's looking for a better life somewhere." And obviously the themes of this movie is that because everybody's always looking for a better life somewhere else, and that relates to the whole, you know, the grandmother going mute when she had to leave the town that she basically grew up in. And there's a whole theme where, like, how did they say it? It's a family that makes a home. A home is not a home. A home is just, you know, wood and bricks, basically. It's a family that makes a home. They touch on that, but they touch on it in such a bizarre, abstract way that I love. And I love the weirdness of these kinds of films. I love the low budget, very well shot and very well colored. I'm a big visual person when it comes to film. Some people call this style over substance. I agree. And a lot of people hate that. Like a lot of people, they want substance, they want story, they want plot, they want things to make sense, they want beginning, middle, and end. They want, you know, this is what's going on, shit happens, and then, you know, hero saves the day, whatnot. And then you got like this shit where it's just, you know, it's visual, it's light, it's like weird music and weird plots and weird shit happening, and a lot of disturbing things too. Like, it's a disturbing film. It's not over the top. I mean, the worst thing that happens is the rat stabbing, but it's a visual fucked up trip of a film. You know, you like obviously you can tell that Gosling is a student of Nicholas Winding Refn, and you can tell that he, like, the thing is, I've never seen him do anything else afterwards, so I don't know if this is his passion project that obviously didn't, like, it wasn't huge in success or anything like that. It's an underground film that went all over the circuit festivals and wears, well, I was gonna say wears his name on his sleeve, on its sleeve. It doesn't, because it's not typical Gosling at all. Like, this is no La La Land. You know, this is no frickin' Notebook. But it's good. It's 2014. I'm trying to remember what Gosling was doing, what other projects he was doing around 2014. Not really sure, because Crazy Stupid Love came out 2013, something like that. So I don't know. This was different. Like, this doesn't feel Gosling, but you can tell it's Gosling because of what Gosling did with Refn and working with Refn. Like, you can tell that Gosling was very inspired and appreciated Refn's work to the point where he wanted to make something for himself, and you can tell he's a student of Refn, and I love that. This is a piece of cinema that you can tell that an actor working with a director discovered something that maybe he's never discovered before, and did something with it and wanted to, go bananas basically, and he did good, because I love the vibe of this film, and I love films like this, and he nailed it in my opinion. So I'm probably going to leave it at that because I'm going at 25 minutes now. So that's my take on Lost River, and I highly recommend going to find it somewhere and checking it out because it is really neat. Check out Nicholas Winding Refn as well if you've never seen any of his films. But if you have, don't miss Lost River because it's really, really unique and really neat. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice or if you like my film reviews. And I'll be back for more real soon, so stay tuned and cheers. Till next time.